Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So today I ended up taking the Tacoma into the dealership just for an oil change that it was due for. But in doing so, my wife, of course, I shouldn't say of course, she drove behind me. That way I didn't have to camp out at the dealership for an hour plus. So, but here we are together. I figured I'd capitalize on it and just do a quick video for you guys with them side by side. So for those of you who don't know, this is on the left, of course, 2017 Tacoma TRD Pro in cement gray, and then on the right is the 2021 4Runner TRD Pro. I figured I'd just kind of highlight my favorite attributes of each of them for fun, and of course kind of point out a couple of the goodies. Most of you follow my channel, you already know what you're looking at, so nothing too out there in this video, but I figured I'd just kind of talk through, hey, which one is my favorite? If I, no kidding, had someone holding a gun to my head, which one would I choose if I had to only choose one? So we'll kind of get to that. Obviously both of them have their huge perks, their benefits to each of them. When it comes to just the reliability and overall drivability, I would say hats off to the 4Runner. The 4Runner's 4-liter V6 tied to that old, again, the 4-liter is old too, but that old 5-speed automatic transmission, it allows for, I don't know, a little bit more of a torquier feel, a larger displacement than the Tacoma here. The Tacoma has that 3.5-liter V6. So both V6s, both have that TRD catback exhaust. I'll even wrap up the video here with a sound clip of each of them for fun. But I do like the overall drivability, the feel of the 4Runner better. The way that they're set up, normally from factory, both of them of course come with the TRD tuned Fox suspension, but as you guys know, my Tacoma has a few additional aftermarket goodies to include the suspension on it. It has an Icon Stage 9 suspension kit, so I'll kind of show you that here a little bit more in detail. The feel overall, I guess, not the drivetrain, the powertrain itself, but the actual feel, the comfort of the suspension goes to the Tacoma. It is so smooth. It is, I don't know, I absolutely love driving the Tacoma because of its setup. Not to mention, between the two of them, whenever maybe it's in my head, but when I'm driving around town, a lot more people are breaking their neck to stare and look at the Tacoma between the two of them here. So obviously both of them are stunning vehicles, but you see white 4Runners everywhere. That's a pretty common sight. But cement gray on the TRD Pro is a little bit more special, of course. So let me show you and kind of remind a couple of you just of the additional goodies. I won't dissect the crap out of it, of course, but kind of just highlight the cool things, the cool features, if you will. So you guys know I put that Go Rhino front step on it, courtesy of Go Rhino. I'm not sure how much longer it will stay on. Rigid industry fog lamps on the Tacoma TRD Pro standard. Then LED headlights and fog lamps on the 21 4Runner TRD Pro, about time. I did actually put in LED headlights up here for the Tacoma as well. So I'll give you a closer look at the actual wheel. So this is the TRD wheel off of the 4Runner TRD Pro all the way up until 2021. So 21 is when they actually updated to these wheels here. Let me bounce over real quick. As you guys know, that's a new design wheel, a little bit more concave by comparison. But we'll bounce back over here. So these are Toyota Open Countries. They're size are 285 70 17s. 17-inch wheel there. I think the OEM TRD wheels that actually came on the 2017 Tacoma were 16-inch. If I recall correctly, and it had that gloss finish back then, which did not look that good in my opinion. These are Open Countries, so definitely loud, mountain tire. They're noticeably louder than the Nitto Ridge grapplers that I have on the Tundra, and they're noticeably louder than the KO2s, of course, the BHG Goodrich KO2s. But this right here is what makes it so special. So again, Icon Stage 9 kit. Not a cheap kit by any means, and I did not put it on. The previous owner thankfully did that, but that is one of my favorite attributes of it, of course. You got the Rsg Frame Sliders here. This is the angled one, so 15-degree angle, pitch upward, as you can see there. You guys know that. So these are technically, quote unquote, better for off-roading purposes. Yeah, you're just limiting the amount of drag, if you will, or not drag, but you know, if they're straight out, the chances of you rubbing and scraping on surfaces, rocks, is a little bit higher. But again, they're both pretty high tucked up. Here's what the rear looks like. And it has the chrome tip for the TRD exhaust back in 2017. And I'll show you the 21 over here. It has the black chrome. So back up here, give you a back angle of it. So altogether, I think it sits about 2 inches higher than a stock Tacoma TRD Pro. I do love the blacked out tail lights on the Tacoma TRD Pros. I think that looks awesome. You guys know I did that. That's the Bakflip MX4 tonneau cover. Super easy to use and very lightweight and durable. It does have tinted windows. I believe the fronts are 30%, and actually I think he did 30% on the sides, and then, or 35, and then a the same tint on the rear here. But this already comes factory with a tinted glass from factory. As you know, the back windows do as well, so that's why it's a little bit darker than the front there. As for the 4Runner, we have 20% tint on the sides, and again with the factory tinted glass, or stained glass, I think is what they refer to it as. You know, the rears are a little bit darker than the front. I mean, it looks super dark as is, but the rears are a little bit darker. And then we ended up doing a 5% on the rear window here, so extremely dark on the rear. Put the black badging, of course, on the 4Runner. Emblems back here. And over here we have the flat Rsg rock sliders. So no pitch to it, which I personally like that better, just because it, you know, it does double as a side step a little bit better. And when you have little ones and a family, a 5'0" wife, it just helps out a little bit better. The ones over there on the Tacoma, they're functional too as a side step. It's just a higher up step, of course. So which one would you pick if you had to pick one of them and you only had one vehicle? You know, pretend you didn't have any other vehicle and you had to have one. Which one would it be for you? For me, it's super tough because, I mean, especially the way the Tacoma's set up, I absolutely love it. I mean, especially with all the additional goodies, it is perfect in my opinion, especially with the cement gray, blah, blah, blah. The Tacoma, or the 4Runner, like I said, I mean, I like the power plant better. I like the fact that it's made in Japan. As you guys know, this one is made in America, out of American plant. They're shifting all production of those to Mexico as of 21, 22 here. But if I were to have one, it would be the Tacoma between the two of them, and that is because I've gotten used to, like, legitimately having a truck bed, having a bed, something that you could throw, you know, dirty stuff in if you need to. Even though it's a small bed, it's a tiny bed on the Tacoma, it's still extra functional. I mean, it serves that truck purpose and use, which I found extremely useful over the last few years. So if I only had one, I would pick the truck between the two of them. I know that's such a controversial discussion between these two, because I mean, a lot of people even reach out to me saying, hey, you know, which one would you get? And like I said, I think the hat, I guess, has to get tipped over to the Tacoma there. The 4Runner, I don't know. I mean, if I had my Tundra already and I had to pick between the two, I would absolutely pick the 4Runner. When it comes to cabin space, of course, you got the rear cargo area. The back seat is a little bit bigger. I know some of you are like, what? No way, it's way bigger than the Tacoma. It really isn't. You know, the Tacoma, it's I don't know, I mean, it's absolutely smaller, but not by a lot, in my opinion, for the back seat. I mean, the way it sits, both the 4Runner and Tacoma, you know, body on frame design, I mean, they sit up higher in the seating positions on all of it. Again, speaking of seating position, that's the reason why a lot of people, taller people, avoid getting the Tacoma, just because, especially that driver's seat, it's just a high up seating position. I won't totally beat it to death. I was going to mainly just focus on the outside, but you know, this is that, like I mentioned in the other video, kind of like that go-kart seating position with your legs extending straight out to the pedals, if you will. So a little bit uncomfortable for the taller folks. Up until, I think 2020 is when they implemented the adjustability for that seat. A power adjustability, come up and down, back and forth, blah, 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 blah. So a lot more adjustability to it was implemented in 2020. Also, I think in 2020 as well, or 19, forgive me, I forget off the top of my head. I know, it was definitely 20. In 2020, they implemented the LED strip. You guys remember that? A lot of people like it. I get it. It's fancier, it's cooler looking, more modern, if you will. I personally do not like it whatsoever. I think this just fits the look of the vehicle a lot better, a little more rugged looking. And rugged might not be the best descriptor of it, but I just like this a lot better. I feel like the strips on the 2020 Plus, I don't know, I feel like it's trying to be something that it's not. You know, it's not an Audi, it's not a super high-end vehicle by any means, so I just feel like it's a little out of place looking on this platform. That's just my opinion though. As for the hood scoops, people always dog these, but I've grown to appreciate it. You know, it's just a Toyota thing, right? And it has been for a long time, having non-functional hood scoops. And I remember it really bothered me when I bought my white, I had a super white 2017 Tacoma TRD Pro that I bought back in 2017, and I remember it really bothered me at the time. Even to the point where I was doing legitimate homework on how can I cut out a hole? How could I actually cut this out? I was looking up, some people have done it, you know, cut this out to make it quote unquote functional. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized, you know, obviously it's not needed. I mean, naturally aspirated. I mean, it's not going to help out this, the performance of this engine by any means. You know, no matter what anybody tells you, it's not going to help out with this the way it's set up. And in fact, I think it even proved to be a little bit of a detriment. You know, having opening that up, now the airflow going in there just kind of increased the drag of the vehicle. It just, you know, it worsened the aerodynamics. Blah 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 blah. So I mean, a lot of people have a lot of theories on it, but at any rate, I digress on that. Another thing, I do like that the Tacoma has the turn signals integrated within the mirrors. I feel like that's kind of a fail that the 4Runner didn't do that, but as well as blind spot monitors. So it has blind spot monitors here, whereas the 4Runner does not. Again, I think that's a missed opportunity, especially when they're 4 years apart. I kind of find it strange that this Tacoma, even though offered in 2017, you know, 2016 formally with this body, they had such a better center stack, right? So the tech within this had a better center screen. It didn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in 2017 here, but the center stack within the actual gauge cluster looks so much better within the Tacomas compared to the 4Runners. It wasn't until 2020 that they finally updated that, as you guys know, within the 4Runner. So just something else to consider. But again, just another flagship piece of the 4Runner at large, or excuse me, the Tacoma TRD Pros at large. The TRD Pros at large is the blacked out headlight housing. I just love that. Love that look of it. And you guys know they have the TRD skid plate underneath. This guy right here. So no red lettering on that one, whereas you do have it. Well, you can't see it actually with this underbite thing here, but at any rate. So the one thing another additional thing that the previous owner put on this one was that clear bra. I showed you that before. I love that that's on there. I do always wonder how they'll age, because you've all seen the terrible looking clear bras where they just look worse than the car's paint would have originally had you just left it off. And especially on white cars, whenever you do it, they tend to yellow a little bit. It depends on the product you get, of course, but you know, they tend to yellow and start looking pretty raunchy. But anyways, I think those are no sunroof on the Tacoma TRD Pro back in 2017. They implemented that, I think, in 19. You do get it in the 4Runner, of course. And I'm sure I'm missing a few more things, but those were just kind of overall the main points between the two. And honestly, I just was looking for an excuse to take a video of these two because we don't have them out on the road every single day together. So we'll wrap up the video here with an exhaust rev of each of them, just to kind of give you a comparison side by side. Sorry guys, so I just got home and I forgot to mention one important piece before I jump to that the exhaust clip there, and that is the resale. Resale, I think, is a very important thing to consider between the Tacoma and the 4Runner in particular. The 4Runner is better. And it's absolutely better. Not by a lot, but what I mean by better is it's just a little bit more desirable, I think. You know, and having sold a couple of them before, even if you guys recall that Voodoo Blue 2019 that I had, I posted that and I posted it for a very low price by comparison, and nobody was jumping on it. Whereas I posted the Voodoo Blue 4Runner TRD Pro, and within 2 days I had 2 or 3 different people, 3 ultimately, really pinging me for it, for my asking price. And the Tacoma, I'd even price a lot lower than that 4Runner. Granted, I mean, they have a different starting price point to consider, I get it, but I think the 4Runner at large just tends to be a little bit more popular. And I mentioned in a previous video, I think a lot of it has to do with the power plant. The 3.5 liter in this, tied to its transmission, it is constantly hunting for gears. It's constantly looking for that next gear to try to get the best fuel economy possible. So because of that, it makes for a different driving feel for sure. So I think that is a component. And don't get me wrong, they're both fantastic resale, but between the two of them, I think the 4Runner is just a little bit more desirable, in my opinion, at very least. So at least wanted to include that in here before jumping to the exhaust clips. So thanks guys. All right, we're gonna start with the 4Runner here. So not bad, huh? And yes, of course, the 4Runner was warmed up before doing this. So let's take a look at the Tacoma. All right. So obviously pretty similar. I mean, you can expect that, of course, with 2 V6 Toyotas here with the same exact exhaust, essentially. But obviously with the Tacoma here, it does have the 3.5 and like I said before, the 4.0 and the 4Runner there. So again, I'll leave you with the question I kind of opened up with. You know, which one would you pick and why? I appreciate you guys watching. Till next time.